What if I told you that you do not need savings, a rich family, or even high income to buy real estate, guys? You just need to know how the game really works. And that's exactly what I'm about to show you. You see, the biggest lie in real estate is that you need to save for years just to maybe qualify to buy a house. But guys, here's the truth. So most people, they're gonna fall within this camp. They are going to go out and save for a down payment, then qualify for a loan, and then finally they're gonna come out and actually buy a house. Now, from person to person, this is gonna vary widely on how long this actually takes. But guys, if you wanna see what real ownership looks like, it's gonna look more like this. You are going to have your strategy, then you're gonna have your people, and then you're going to have your leverage. Now, I'm gonna get more into this, exactly what I mean by this later on in the video. But first, to give you some background, so I started out my working career in more of the construction field as well as logging work. And now when I say logging, guys, I actually mean like your lumberjack type work, because I grew up in a very rural area. From there, I eventually became a mechanic because my family's cars, they just kept breaking down. And there was 8 of us kids, and that was my way of helping out. So if you told me back then that I'd owned a dozen properties, I would have laughed straight in your face. But thankfully, people along the way, they believed in me, and now I want to pay that forward. So maybe this video is the spark that you need to start your own journey. So here's what I've learned. You do not buy real estate. You structure real estate. And that's where the real cheat code comes in. So one of my favorite structures, it is called the seller carryback, AKA stack Marby method structure. And to illustrate this, guys, picture this. So you have a bank that funds the majority of the deal through what's called a DSCR, so a debt service coverage ratio loan. But then this seller comes back and carries a portion of their equity, which then becomes your down payment. That's a stack. Now we're gonna go over this in more detail, but really simple terms, you are gonna have this top level, which is gonna be your DSCR. And again, this is just an investor type loan. It could be any other institutional type loan, but this is the more common one. It's your DSCR. And then that is going to be stacked on top of a seller carry note coming back from the seller. And this is really that high impact lever that most people are just not aware of or don't use appropriately. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm much more of a visual learner, so I'm gonna illustrate this full deal structure out. But first, we're just gonna draw out kind of your standard transaction just so you have a reference point on the similarities, because I think that helps simplify it a bit for people. So right here, we're gonna have your institution, which is your DSCR loan. So that's gonna be a bank. We're gonna have you as the buyer here. And then you're gonna have some type of asset. It could be your multifamily, it could be RV parks, it could be a home. We'll just put a home for this case, just a standard single family home. Then you have yourself a seller here that is selling that home. So you're gonna go out and negotiate terms, and then you are gonna outline that, what the terms of that purchase are gonna look like in what's called a purchase and sale agreement. Again, you're gonna have your DSCR funding the majority of the deal, and then you are going to bring your own down payment to satisfy that lender's requirements. So from here, you've got agreed upon your terms with the seller. That's gonna come down here, typically to a title attorney or title company. Title company is a little more common. There, you're gonna have your escrow process. There's a lot that's entailed into that. You can get into that in some of my other videos. And then finally, you're gonna have your close of escrow. So this is your typical purchase, like cut, bone, dry, typical purchase. Now, when you're getting into this seller carryback, Marby method, stack method, what we're talking about up here, what this is gonna look like is you are actually going to negotiate with the seller terms as far as how much are they willing to carry back as a portion of their equity. So once you get that agreed upon, you're gonna qualify for a loan. So you've got your DSCR, this down payment. Where it's gonna vary is you're actually gonna have a transactional funder or transactional private money lender who is going to fund that down payment for you. So this is what I actually do for a business, is I help people structure these types of deals as well as I fund the down payment for them. So we'll erase this, put transactional funder there for the down payment. Now, other than that, this first leg of the transaction is pretty much the same as any other transaction, except you're not bringing the down payment. So the thing here is you have to pay this down payment at the close of escrow. So what happens is you got your first leg here, then this second leg, this carry again, you had an agreement with that seller on how much you're going to carry back or how much they're going to carry back as a portion of their equity. So what they're going to do is they are going to create a second lien position on that property. So that's a secondary note. They're going to carry back those funds. And this is where the second portion of the transaction happens. So you have your first leg. From there, it gets transferred to a typical, in our operations, it's a title attorney that closes the second leg of this transaction. And then it's going to go from here and get dispersed and actually pay off that transactional funder. Some cases you actually get paid to purchase that real estate. We have many instances where that's actually the case. So this is a way where you get into the deal with no money out of the pocket. It is an awesome structure. This is how you really scale in this business, but there are some caveats. I've got some other videos on that, but real high level, this is an appreciation item that you need to be aware of because you're going to be over leveraging the property. And then two, you need to have major transparency with these DSCR lenders. Make sure that they're involved in the process, understand, or like they have a full understanding of your party to the transaction and how this transaction is actually flowing, because this is not common for most lenders. And you want to make sure that you're not committing mortgage fraud, stuff like that. So super important, but again, I've got full videos on that. Check them out. And another thing, guys, this is definitely not a beginner strategy. Really, this needs to be an experienced investor that knows how real estate actually cash flows, because you could put yourself underwater on these type of transactions if you're doing it wrong. So it's very important that you go with an experienced team. My team, what we do is you actually get these seller terms agreed upon in some sort of like letter of intent, LOI, then we'll quarterback the entire deal from there for you. So we'll write up the purchase and sale agreement the way it needs to be done, the seller carry the way that it needs to be done. We'll TC the entire deal for you, fund the down payment, reserves, any closing costs on that first leg, as well as make sure everything's structured appropriately for that second leg. So again, I would not recommend doing this by yourself on the first time. We're actually funding one right now where the buyer they're going to be getting paid over $40,000 to take down that property. Yes, paid to buy real estate. It sounds wild until you understand the structure. So guys, if money isn't the barrier, then what is? You need three things. Again, you need strategy, so you know how to structure these deals like a pro. You need relationships, so your people, so you got your agents, your lenders, again, DSCR lenders that are fully aware of this type of transaction and allow it. You need sellers, your wholesalers, investors, so on and so forth. And then third, you need better questions. Don't ask, can I afford this? Ask, how can I structure this? You see, guys, I spent years thinking I had a money problem, but guys, I didn't. I had a strategy problem. And once I fixed that, I started seeing opportunity everywhere, because you can structure deals so many different ways, and it's really up to your imagination. Now, if this video opened your mind, do me a favor, like, comment, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Also, drop a deal in the comments. Just provide like your purchase price, how much equity the seller has, and I'll go from there. And I might just pick yours for a full whiteboard breakdown in the next video and show you how to close this with no money down. And with that, I will catch you on the next one.